This video, just a quick little update. So I went ahead and made a couple of changes to my thought here, my idea. Let me show you on the back of this thing real quick. If you remember right, my first thought was to put this electric ball valve just to simply bypass and send the hot water back to the input line or the inlet from the tank. And what it does, it really doesn't dump a lot of water into the tank. It, most of it goes into the suction side of the pump, but it'll put a small amount of water in before that pump actually turns on. So this worked out really good, and I can get my hot water, or I can get my water up to temperature. The problem with this is where I can put it in my RV. So I'm not going to be able to get it very close to, say, that kitchen faucet, without dropping the color plast and doing some plumbing in the underside, which I really don't want to do. So now I went to this little inline recirculating pump, and I installed a second motorized ball valve here. So I'm not going to use this one for this test. We're going to go strictly with this one. So essentially what would happen here is this would go under the kitchen sink, and what I'm doing, it's basically a bypass. So I'm teeing out of my hot line here and coming back into my cold line here. So all I'm doing is recirculating the hot water using this little pump. And so I tried a couple different configurations. I tried just using check valves here to, keep the hot and cold water from mixing when I'm not using this.
The check valve did not work.
It added enough extra restriction that this pump wouldn't push enough water through. So now what I'm doing is just going from the pump through this ball valve. So I'm just taking my hot water side, pumping it into my cold water side, and that's essentially recirculating everything through the water heater. So to make this test as realistic as possible, I put a check valve on here. My Furrion in my 303 RLS has a check valve to prevent water from backflowing through this water heater. The first test I did, it was a plastic check valve that looked very similar to what the Grand Design put in my reflection. When I did it, I could not get the flow rate up sufficient to turn this water heater on, or to leave it on consistently. So I changed this out. This is a little bit different style check valve that seems to have less restriction. I wish I'd have taken a video of it before I put it on here, but it's a full half-inch all the way through this thing. It has a little bit bigger plunger, and it seems like it takes less pressure to open this valve. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this with this check valve in place, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so back to the front side. And just like my last test, I've got my cell phone on here. Got some glare from the background, but I think we'll be able to see this. So I'm gonna hit my button, and again, I'm using that button is gonna start a timer so it's this button right here, gonna start a timer that's gonna open that valve and turn on the pump. And so I have this set for about 30 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this video, and we'll kind of monitor our water pressure. I really don't see much of an increase, but here we go. So that little pump turned on, and really no change in pressure. Now, one thing that you're going to notice is The fan on this water heater is running much slower, so it's actually running at the lowest speed that it can. My flow rate right now says 0.7 gallons per minute. That kind of goes between 0.5 and 0.7. One thing that you'll notice is I have this set to 124 degrees and my water temperature consistently rises. So if I go for more than, say, 25 or 30 seconds, my water temperature goes too high and this thing will actually air out. So I do get hot water at my faucet. So this works great on my trainer. My concern is when I add, 20, 30, 40 feet of water line to this circulation system, I think my flow rate's going to drop. So I'm going to give that a shot. But just wanted to update everybody. That inline pump does work, but I'm concerned about the water temperature and how this is actually going to do when I put it in a system that has, a lot more pipe to try and push this through. Anyway, that was just a quick update.